Last day, we completed with the topic of classification of resources. Today, we move on with a new topic called man-made resources. Man-made resources. What is mean by man-made resources? Man-made resources are modified by using technology is known as man-made resources. Already we seen a gist of man-made resources. Here, a brief notes about man-made resources. In first sense, what is meant by man-made resources? Man-made resources in the sense nothing. Natural resources are modified by using technology is known as man-made resources. For example, sugar cane. We use sugar cane. We get sugar after the process of sugar cane. Those are the example for man-made resources. And then also what are the sources made by human being is called man-made resources. Again one thing, what are the source made by human being is called man-made resources. For example, building, it was made by human being. And then road, it also made by human being. Those things are example for man-made resources. This kind of transforming raw materials into finished process is known as secondary activities. In here, natural resources is a raw material, and then after modifying those things are called finished process. Combined these together are known as the secondary activities. In this type, skills and ideas of man's are the most important thing. And then human resources. What is mean by human resources? A group of human individual who use nature to create more resources. Here human being is a natural resource. Even though we see human being as a individual source, there is a reason to respect the every individual human beings by their education, wealth, knowledge, those. For example, doctor, teacher, scientist. Basically, tertiary activities are concerned with primary and secondary products through a system of transport and trade. For example, banking, trade and communications. While making the professionals of human resource of a country, the institution's quality and quantity should be organized. And then Gandhian thought of resource. Some of the Gandhiji's thought of resources are here. First thing, Gandhi's thought is resources are only for human needs, but not for their jealous. We have to understand that resources are only for human needs, not for their jealous. And also he said the human beings are the reasons for decreasing the quantity of resources, because our exploitation of resources and then unlimited needs of human beings. So conservation is very important. So conservation of resources is very important. And then resource planning. What is mean by resource planning? Resource planning in the sense how to use the source in proper way. We have to plan to use the sources in proper way. Resource planning is the necessary thing in everyone's life, because resource will be very less in quality. So resource planning will helps to develop the resource, and also it helps to store the resource in our future generation also. We have to store the resources in our future generation, then only the development of resource will be increased, or otherwise it will be decreased. So we have to plan how to store the resources for our future. And then second one, Resources are not only in limited edition, but also they are unevenly distributed over the different parts of world. And then finally, third one, it is the essential protection of resource to protect them for exploitation. Resource planning is the essential protection of resource to protect them from the exploitation. And then conservation of resource, which means to handling the resource in proper way. To handling the resource in proper way is called a conservation of resource, because the overpopulation and the usage of resource will also be increased. Nowadays there is a overpopulation, and also the usage of resource will be increased. Because of that, developing resources will also be decreased. While we are using resources in high quality, the developing resources will be decreased. To control those things, we have to use knowledgeable activities. To control the decreasement of resource, we have to use the knowledgeable activities. The developmental growth and resources will be in the way to without disturbing the life of future generation. The development of growth and resource will be in the way of without disturbing the life of future generation. To fulfilling our present needs and also to develop the future needs of resource in the way of equality is known as sustainable development. Sustainable development in the sense to fulfilling our generation needs and also the future generation needs of resources in the way of equality is the sustainable development. Some steps to be followed to attain sustainable development. To analyze the reason to decrease the resource. First, we have to analyze the reason why the resources will be decreased, and then to avoid unwanted wastage and usage of resource. We have to avoid the unwanted usage and wastage of resources. Have to recycle the recycled resource. We have to recycle the once recycled resources, and then have to prevent our pollution. Then have to protect our environment. Also preserve the natural vegetation and wildlife. How to preserve the natural vegetation and wildlife. This is the steps to prevent our pollution and protect the environment also. While preserving the natural vegetation and wildlife sanctuary, it will helps to avoid the air pollutions, etc. Have to use some alternative sources. We have to use some alternative resources also. The easy way to conserve our resources to follow the 3 R's. What is meant by 3 R's? Here, reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce the pollution, reuse the resources, and after recycle the reusable resources. These are the 3 R's to conserve the resources easily. Today the class is over, and then your works are: first one, explain man-made resources. Explain what is meant by man-made resources, and then what are the three R's are.